And stocks in China saw strong gains on the first trading day of February as hopes rise for a U.S.-China trade deal. However, the country's manufacturing data came in below expectations. A mainland Chinese market saw gains on the day as the Shanghai Composite rose 1.3%, while the Shenzhen Composite also climbed higher by 2.76%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index slipped 0.23%. Elsewhere in Asia, the mood appeared more cautious as the Japan's Nikkei 225 closed slightly higher at 20,788 points, while the Topix Index shed 0.18%. South Korea's Kospi closed slightly lower at 2,203 points. In Australia, the ASX 200 ended its trading day largely flat at 5,862 points. And in the U.S., stock index futures pointed to a mixed open on Friday, with corporate releases set to take center stage alongside the release of the closely watched monthly non-farm payrolls report. As of 5 a.m. Eastern Time, Dow futures indicated a positive open of more than 40 points. S&P 500 futures and Nasdaq futures suggested a lower open. Money managers are keeping an eye on trade talks between China and the United States. In terms of U.S. data, the monthly employment report is out about this time. That's 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. U.S. non-farm payrolls likely increased by 170,000 in January, while the unemployment rate was expected to hold steady at 3.9%, according to economists surveyed by Dow Jones. There is also an ISM manufacturing index due out at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Our Chevron, ExxonMobil, Honda Motor and Sony are due to report before the bell. Johnson Controls and Madison Square Garden will update investors after the bell. And here on the African continent, Kenya's Capital Markets Authority has asked the government to issue local currency debt outside the country to check depreciation of the shilling rather than managing the unit. The International Monetary Fund reclassified the shilling from floating to other managed arrangement in October to reflect the currency's limited movement due to periodic central bank interventions, saying the unit was overvalued by about 17.5%. According to the CMA, there are opportunities for Kenya to consider adopting alternative and complementary measures, that is, raising capital in local currency, both in onshore markets where governments can tap local institutional investors and in offshore markets where they have greater access to a global investor base to curb a likely depreciation of the Kenyan shilling. The shilling was Africa's best performing currency last year, having gained 1.2% against the dollar. And a settlement offered by South African mobile telecoms provider Vodacom to a former employee drew tens of protesters on Thursday, January 31, calling for a better deal. Vodacom was ordered in 2016 by the country's top court to pay Nkosana Makati for his role in creating the company's callback messaging service.
The Constitutional Court did not set a specific compensation amount, however, leaving it to both parties to iron out. The court ruled that should the two sides fail to agree an amount, Vodacom Chief Executive Shamil Jusob had the authority to set an amount to break the deadlock.
We are going to ask our people to start returning debit orders as of tomorrow. No, obviously the disrespect that has been demonstrated by Vodacom sparked this protest, and we can indicate that the protest will continue until Mr. Makate is paid what rightfully belongs to him.
The firm has not made the amount public, and neither has Makate, who did not respond to requests for comment.
I think it's very important, you see, because the poor cannot even, there are some people who cannot even afford airtime. So how are they going to communicate with other people? So the easiest way to actually communicate is actually to send a please call me that will allow the next person who has airtime at that time to actually call you back.
In my view, Makate should have been in the senior position by now of Vodacom, should have been adequately rewarded. This demonstrates that Vodacom does not even believe that a child from the township can be paid so much money, can make a living out of it.
About 200 protesters marched to Vodacom headquarters demanding 70 billion rand for the 42-year-old Makete. Holding placards reading "Vodacom Stop Racism" and "Justice for Makete equals 70 billion rand," the protesters gathered at the main entrance of Vodacom's head office in Johannesburg. Armed police kept vigil at the gates, which were locked with chains. Vodacom's retail stores inside the headquarters, which was around 6,000 square meters of shopping space, were closed for the day.
After the break, we do a quick crossover to the Nigerian equities market for today's update. Do stay with us.